Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Enrique Sanchez. Thank you, Miranda, for mentioning those topics and discussing those issues with us here. I'm just a community activist, organizer with many youth groups. I try to get involved as much as I can with the community. This topic of war and foreign policy really touched bases with me. I want to discuss the issue of an aggressive foreign policy on behalf of the United States government. I'm here to call out both parties, both Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
Okay, we understand the implications of what 4 more years of Trump means for us here in this country. Okay, we understand that yes, it's a matter of our future, of our democracy, but what about for the rest of the world? What about for people in Venezuela, in Iran, in Yemen, in Syria? Both parties now are trying to beat the drums for war against China, against Russia. So it's like, Trump comes in, okay, and he is a problem, but it's like Biden, the Democrats, and the Republicans, all of them have created that problem. We understand as folks here that both candidates aren't the best. Both candidates, we have the worst list of candidates to choose from. But after November, is there going to be an end to war? Is there going to be an end to an aggressive foreign policy on countries that don't align with U.S. interests and Western interests and European interests? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. They're both parties recruit. They literally recruit folks that want to continue the endless wars, the endless conflicts. So it's like, I saw the list. I've been paying attention to the local election here in Rhode Island, and it's been very rare that I see some officials, elected officials, talk about war, talk about the aggressive foreign policy that the U.S. government represents. They don't mention the military-industrial complex. They don't mention economic sanctions that are imposed on Venezuela, Iran, Nicaragua, an embargo on Cuba. Sanctions against Yemen, sanctions against Syria, sanctions against Russia, sanctions against Belarus, sanctions against Pakistan, sanctions against any other country that does not align with U.S. and Western European NATO interests. And that is a problem. That is a problem that we have to start waking up to here in this country. We have to not just talk about our issues, our problems here. We also have to take into consideration the rest of the world. The rest of the world is depending on the U.S. people to vote, to put in power people who are not going to continue these future aggressions against their sovereignty. So yes, it sucks. It really sucks these next couple months, because we're just going to be hearing back and forth from Biden and Trump about who's, I see Biden attacking Trump from the right on foreign policy. I see Trump attacking also Biden from the right on foreign policy. And it's like, okay, they for some reason unite and they come together when it comes to being tough on foreign policy. So, folks, let's keep in mind, that it's not just about us, our individualism, our American exceptionalism. It's about people's lives in other countries. Economic sanctions that the United States is responsible for many countries around the world. It's not imposed on their governments, it's imposed on the people who are starving to death, people who don't have medication, people who don't have food. Thank you, folks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing. Me and some friends run a podcast called the Freedom Fighters Podcast, localized about Providence, and you can find it. It's called the Freedom Fighters Podcast again. You can find it on Spotify, SoundCloud. We're looking to do an episode with Enrique, talk about these problems of imperialism, and then we're also looking to get Tiara Mack, who just won the State Senate race. She's a black queer woman. She very openly runs on that platform, and she's really about reproductive rights. So I think we can tie this into what's happening with ICE on the border, tie this into histories of war, like in Vietnam, the unjust, like often rape of innocent civilian women, and how all of these things are infringements on reproductive rights, but they just take different forms. And I think Enrique is right in saying the U.S. has to lead. The U.S. has to figure this stuff out and lead more justly in order to encourage the rest of the world too. So,
Thank you.